Hello, we are returning to our story Wonder by R.J. Palacio. I mispronounced his name earlier. I was using the Italian Palacio. So now we'll return to the part of the story where Augie is having a nice visit with Mr. Tushman. Mr. Tushman smiled like he could read my mind. I was about to say something else, but then all of a sudden I heard other voices outside the office, kids' voices. I'm not exaggerating when I say this, but my heart literally started beating like I'd just run the longest race in the world. The laughter I had inside just poured out of me. The thing is, when I was little, I never minded meeting new kids because all the kids I met were really little too. What's cool about really little kids is that they don't say stuff to try to hurt your feelings, even though sometimes they do say stuff that hurts your feelings, but they don't actually know what they're saying. Kids, though, they know what they're saying, and that is definitely not fun for me. One of the reasons I grew my hair long last year was that I like how bangs cover my eyes. It helps me block out the things I don't want to see. Mrs. Garcia knocked on the door and poked her head inside. "They're here, Mr. Tishman," she said. "Who's here?" I said. "Thanks," said Mr. Tishman to Mrs. Garcia. "August, I thought it would be a good idea for you to meet some students who will be in your home room this year. I figured they could take you around the school a bit, show you the lay of the land, so to speak." "I don't want to meet anyone," I said to Mom. Mr. Tushman was suddenly right in front of me, his hands on my shoulders. He leaned down and said very softly in my ear, "It'll be okay, August. These are nice kids, I promise." "You're going to be okay, Augie," Mom whispered with all her might. Oh. Before she could say anything else, Mr. Tushman opened the door to his office. "Come on in, kids," he said, and in walked two boys and a girl. None of them looked over at me or Mom. They stood by the door looking straight at Mr. Tushman like their lives depended on it. It's very sweet. "Thanks so much for coming, guys, especially since school doesn't start until next month," said Mr. Tushman. "Have you had a good summer?" All of them nodded, but no one said anything. They're trying so hard to be polite. "Great, great," said Mr. Tushman. "So, guys, I wanted you to meet August, who's going to be a new student here this year. August, these guys have been students at Beecher Prep since kindergarten, though of course they were in the lower school building, but they all know the ins and outs of the middle school program. And since you're all in the same homeroom, I thought it would be nice if you got to know each other a little bit before school started, okay? So kids, this is August. August, this is Jack Will." Jack Will looked at me and put out his hand. When I shook it, he kind of half smiled and said, "Hey," and looked down really fast. "This is Julian," said Mr. Tishman. "Hey," said Julian, and did the same exact thing as Jack Will. Took my hand, forced a smile, looked down fast. "And Charlotte," said Mr. Tishman. Charlotte had the blondest hair I've ever seen. She didn't shake my hand, but gave me a quick little wave and said, "Hi, August. Nice to meet you," she said. "Hi," I said, looking down. She was wearing bright green Crocs. Ooh. "So," said Mr. Tishman, putting his hands together in kind of a slow clap, "what I thought you guys could do is take August on a little tour of the school. Maybe you could start on the third floor. That's where your homeroom class is going to be, room 301. I think Mrs. G is—" "Room 301!" Mrs. Garcia called out from the other room. "Room 301," Mr. Tushman nodded. "And then you can show, oh wait, they were just agreeing. Room 301, said Mrs. Garcia. Marcia called out from the other room. "Oh." "Room 301, Mr. Tushman nodded. "And then you can show August the science labs and the computer room, then work your way around to the library and the performance space on the second floor. Take him to the cafeteria, of course. Should we take him to the music room? Asked Julian. Good idea, yes, said Mr. Tishman. August, do you play any instruments? No, I said. It wasn't my favorite subject on account of the fact that I really don't have ears. Oh, poor guy. Well, I do, but they don't exactly. I do, but they don't exactly look like normal ears. Poor guy. It must be hard to wear glasses. Well, you may enjoy seeing the music room anyway, said Mr. Tishman. We have a very nice selection of percussion instruments. Uh-oh. See, I'm a former band director, and that would make me nervous. I don't like people playing on the percussion instruments if they're not being supervised. This is giving me stress. August, you've been wanting to learn to play the drums, Mom said, trying to get me to look at her, but my eyes were covered by my bangs, and I stared at a piece of old gum that was stuck to the bottom of Mr. Tishman's desk. Great. Okay, so why don't you guys get going, said Mr. Tishman. Just be back here in, he looked at Mom, half an hour, okay? I think Mom nodded. So is that okay with you, August? She asked me. I didn't answer. Is that okay, August? Mom repeated. I looked at her now. I wanted her to see how mad I was at her, but then I saw her face and just nodded. She seemed more scared than I was. The other kids had started out the door, so I followed them. See you soon, said Mom. Her voice sounded a little higher than normal. See you soon. I didn't answer her. All righty, so he's meeting other children that will be in class with him. And the story continues with August and his new school. Until next time.